Good day, students, and welcome to Top Form Education Associates Limited. Once again, I'm Richard Benjamin, your basic science teacher, and today we're going to be looking at a new topic, our fourth lesson in JS1, and our topic for today is family health, drugs and substance abuse. Our instructional material remain the same, complete basic science and technology for junior secondary school book 1. Now let's see our lesson objectives for today. Our lesson objectives are that by the end of today's lesson, you should be able to explain the meaning of drug abuse, and substance abuse. 2, you should be able to state the importance of drugs when properly used. 3, list the side effects of drugs. 4, you should be able to differentiate between therapeutic and recreational drugs. And lastly, you should be able to mention the sources of drugs. So what are drugs? So let's see what drugs are. Drugs are chemical substances that alter the working of the body. We say they are taken into the body through drinking, injection, and smoking. Now you can either take drugs into your body through oral consumption, by smoking, or injection. Now drugs alter the working of your body. You only take drugs when you are sick. When you are sick, you don't take it when you are healthy and strong. You take drugs when you are sick. You say drugs can make us well if taken according to the doctor's advice. When you take the drugs according to the doctor's advice, they are capable, they have the capability to make you stronger again. They have the capability to make you well. So you don't take drugs when you are strong. You only take them when you are sick. When drugs are taken without the advice of a doctor, they can be harmful. When you take drugs without any medical advice or counsel, they can be harmful to your health, and we refer to such as drug abuse. You are actually making wrong use of drugs. So any instance when you make wrong use of drugs is referred to as drug abuse. So you don't take drugs outside medical advice. You only take drugs according to the doctor's prescription. These are examples of drugs. I'm sure we are all familiar with these. These are all antibiotic drugs. We have so many other drugs. We have pain relievers, we have antibiotics, we have syrups. Drugs can exist in powder form, they can exist in liquid form, and so many other forms. Let's forge ahead. This is an oral way of consuming drugs. Remember, I told you we have basically 3 ways in which we take drugs into the body. Firstly, I said by oral consumption, which you can see here, oral consumption. These are oral consumption, and this is by injection. This is by injection. Now, this is an inhaler. This is an inhaler, basically for the asthmatic patients. So let's forge ahead and see classes of drugs. Basically, drugs are classified into 2 broad classes. 1, we have the therapeutic drugs, and 2, we have recreational drugs. So what are therapeutic drugs? Now, these are drugs that are called legal or medical drugs. Therapeutic drugs, in essence, they are drugs that are prescribed to you by the doctor. We say these are also known as legal or medical drugs. They are prescribed by doctors. They are used in the treatment of illnesses. Examples are antibiotics, malaria drugs, painkillers, and so on. Therapeutic drugs are prescribed by doctors, and these are examples of therapeutic drugs. You can see your pain relievers here, your syrups, and antibiotics. They are all examples of therapeutic drugs because they are meant to be prescribed by a doctor. On the other hand, recreational drugs, they are socially acceptable drugs. Many people take these drugs without knowing they are drugs. Now, recreational drugs, most people take it without even knowing that they are taking drugs. An example is alcohol. Many people take alcohol like without even knowing that they are taking drugs. Remember the definition of drugs we gave at the beginning of this lesson. We say a drug is a chemical substance that has the ability to alter the working of your body. Now, alcohol is also a drug. Many take it into their bodies without even knowing that they are taking in drugs. Cocaine is also a drug that people take without knowing. These are all examples of recreational drugs. We have cola. This is cola. Cola is also a drug. It is a recreational drug, being that many people take it so that it can prevent them from sleeping. They take it to alter the working of their body. So cola is also a drug. Alcohol, and we have cocaine here. Sources of drugs. Sources of drugs. What do we mean by sources of drugs? Sources of drugs simply means where we can possibly get drugs from. Sources of drugs include the following: roots, stems, leaves, and flowers of many plants. We can get drugs from the roots, stems, and leaves or flowers of many plants. These are sources where we get drugs. All the hormones and alkaloids are used in making vaccines. Some drugs are obtained from metals. Some living organisms like fungi and bacteria are sources of antibiotics. Side effects of drugs. Drugs have the following side effects. Drugs can cause irritations on the skin. So in as much as we want to consume drugs when we are ill, we also need to know the side effects of drugs, especially when they are consumed inappropriately. When you are not supposed to take drugs, don't take it. You only take drugs when it becomes necessary, when you are sick, because drugs have many side effects. And these are some of the side effects. It causes skin irritation. They can cause sleepiness, otherwise known as insomnia. These are side effects of drugs. They can cause increase in the rate of the heartbeat and blood pressure. Recreational drugs can make people feel high. Recreational drugs can make people feel high and they begin to behave abnormally. They can also make drug consumer to enter depression. Substance misuse is the next thing we are going to be looking at. Remember, we say a drug is a substance that alters the working of your body. I also told you that drug abuse is when you take drugs in a manner you are not supposed to. Now, let's look at substance misuse. This is a pattern of repeated consumption of substances or drugs in such amounts that interfere with the health and social relationships of the consumer. Substance abuse gradually leads to substance addiction. Now, when you consume substances is in an amount that interferes with your health, is referred to as substance misuse. You're actually misusing such substance. For instance, you are sick and you are being given prescription to a particular drug and you take it in excess. It's called substance misuse because you are taking it in a manner that it will interfere with your health and social relationship. That's why when you take excess drugs, you discover that you begin to feel dizziness because you have taken it in such a manner that it can interfere with your health. So as you can see the picture here, the young man here is already feeling dizzy because he has taken excess. You can see this is a whole bunch of drugs to be taken by an individual. You can imagine the reaction afterwards. And this is also self-medication. It's not advisable. Okay, kids, we will stop here for today. We have come to the end of the lesson for today. Let's evaluate ourselves and see what we have learned so far in today's lesson. Now, let's answer the following questions. Evaluation. Explain the meaning of drug and substance abuse. Let's answer this few questions. And secondly, question 2, list 5 side effects of drugs. What are the side effects of drugs that you know? So I'll give us just a few minutes to attempt these questions before we take the answers. Okay, students, I believe you are done with that. So let's see what we have as the answers to these questions. Question 1. Explain the meaning of drug. We define a drug as a substance that alters the working of the body. You got that correctly. Please put your hands together for yourself. 2. Explain the meaning of substance misuse. We define substance misuse. We say this is a pattern of repeated consumption of substances or drugs in such an amount that interfere with the health and social relationships of the consumer. You wrote that correctly. Please put your hands together for yourself. You have done well. And the second question, list 5 side effects of drugs. What are the side effects of drugs? You know, the side effects of drugs include drugs can cause irritations on the skin. That is 1. 2, they can cause insomnia. 3, they can cause increase in the rate of heartbeat and blood pressure. 4, recreational drugs can make people feel high. And lastly, they can also make drug consumer to enter depression. You wrote that correctly. Please put your hands together for yourself. You have done well. And with this, students, we have come to the end of our lesson for today. Today we discussed about drug, we discussed about family health, that is drugs, drug abuse, and substance misuse. And we define drug as a chemical substance that alters the working of your body. And we say drug abuse is when you take substances in a manner you are not supposed to take it. And we also learned about the side effects of drugs. We saw many side effects of drugs. We also learned about the types of drugs. We talked about the therapeutic drugs and also recreational drugs. Students, I want to urge us to go back to our notes and study so that we can understand the topic very well, and so that we'll be able to know how to make proper use of drugs even when we are given from the hospital. See you in my next class. Thank you.